With last week's winter storm, a pretty significant one around here, there are a lot of questions started coming in about bird survival in winter. And I've done a program on that last year a little bit, and then I focus more on things you could do to help birds survive these cold stretches and severe weather stretches. This time I thought I would talk more about their natural adaptations, things that they have that to deal with the severe weather. Keep putting out bird seed, obviously. Keep providing roosting pockets, the good thick vegetations for them to sleep in at night and get out of the weather, things like that we talked about last time. But what I thought we'll talk about, like I said, is how they do survive these things. What are some of the things that birds have, adaptations they have, and methods they use to cope with extremely cold weather. And the first being, we'll repeat that they are warm-blooded. They, like you and I, they can make their own body heat. If they have food, then they can make their own body heat internally, and so they can keep their body temperature up by processing food. Now, their body temperature is quite a bit higher than ours. A bird's body temperature is around 105 to 106 degrees, where ours is classically 98.6. So they have that higher body temperature, which is also is a help to them, that's for sure. But they also have to do other things to protect them against these really cold, frigid nights. So one of them is just simply by fluffing up. And that is expanding their feathers out. This is the time of year we'll get calls saying, wow, that cardinal's huge. Well, he's not any bigger than he normally is. It's just that he's fluffing up. He's expanding his feathers and creating a air pocket in there, air pockets between his feathers, which is added insulation from cold weather. We all know about some of the warmest clothes, warmest coats classically you can buy are down feathered coats, and that is jackets and vests that are filled with, and classically eider down is which is a northern sea duck, which is the famous warmest down there is that you can put in jackets and to keep us warm. So they have they fluff up and they have that down layer underneath the flight feathers and contour feathers that we see on the outside. Well, that fluffiness there, it creates space and warmth for them and helps them preserve their body heat that way. Now, well, do they actually put on more feathers? Like a dog, we know, adds hair during the winter months. Well, birds will do that too. Not hair, they add feathers. So they actually will add an extra layer of down feathers, especially waterfowl. Birds like swans, the tundra swans famously cited whenever you want to look up on the internet about bird feathers. The tundra swans always quoted as they counted 25,000 feathers on one swan. That's a lot of feathers. They do add, and they spend their time in very, very cold water. So this extra layer of feathers during the winter months, they have the most feathers during the winter months. So, but nothing compares to the emperor penguin. The largest penguin in the world, the emperor penguin, has something like 80,000 feathers on it, and you have to. They survive unimaginable cold nights there at the South Pole. So you would imagine that they have to be very, very well insulated, and they are. They're amazing creatures. So, but around here, they don't have to worry about those kind of temperatures. But what else can they do? Well, we see these cold birds standing in cold water, ducks and swans, and even great blue herons, which are mainly leaving this time of year. And I classically get this question: well, how in the world do their feet not freeze like that? And it's an adaptation that they have. It's actually in other parts of their body as well, and it is their capillaries are very, very close together, and that is the blood, the warm blood being produced by their body, being pumped out of their heart into their parts of their body, is warming up the cold blood that is in their feet when they're standing in the water. And so as that cold blood comes up from their feet, the warm blood going down from their heart is so close to it, it actually helps warm it so that they don't have this cold shock whenever this cold blood gets to their heart and their body and sends them into shock. So it's an adaptation for being able to survive in cold weather. Very, very cool adaptation. So they do have that. What else? Where was it? I mentioned that body temperature. Did they? Oh, and they do shiver. They actually do shiver. Whenever you and I, mammals, we shiver whenever we get cold, and that is our body's natural reaction to produce heat. It causes, and birds will do that as well. But one of the coolest adaptations. Now, I've talked about hummingbirds, how their heartbeat is just so fast that they have to slow down their hearts at night so they don't starve to death while they're sleeping. Well, chickadees and other birds don't do quite that extreme. That's torpor, what we call torpor. What they actually do is a thing called controlled hypothermia. A chickadee can actually lower its body temperature by like 22 degrees at night. So they don't have to worry about overnight trying to keep their body temperatures up to like 105 while they're sleeping, and that helps conserve energy so that they can have some energy when they wake up in the morning. So many cool adaptations in birds whenever it comes to how they survive, because for some birds like juncos. Juncos live at the top of the world, but they come down here, and to them, this is nice weather. So they could survive the winters down here, and a lot of birds, whereas the insect-eating birds have to migrate out of here because they can't get their food source. So continue to give them food. They need that extra food during these, especially these cold periods, source of unfrozen water, and places for them to roost in at night, roosting pockets, and even your birdhouses. So thank you for the ideas for the programs. Send in more for those. Give us a like. Give us a share of the programs if that helps us out. And until then, come by and let's talk birds.